I am JeshuaG from Marion, Iowa, and I will be doing a sermon on Jonah 4. So, beginning of Jonah, Jonah is called by God to go to Nineveh and preach so that they may repent. However, instead of doing that, instead of going east, he goes the complete opposite direction and tries to flee to Tarshish. So he gets on a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee, and a great storm comes upon him all the other sailors are worrying and throwing cargo off the ship to maybe lighten their load, while Jonah's asleep in the deck. So all the sailors go and cast lots to see whose god this might be that is throwing this curse upon them. And the lot falls on Jonah. So they go and wake him up and ask him where he's from and what God he believes in. And so he tells them that they should just throw him overboard, and that might stop the storm. This was a last attempt from Jonah to maybe try and escape God once more by means of death. So they eventually throw him after many failed attempts to get back to land, because they didn't want to kill a man. And as they throw him in, they ask God for his blood not to be on their hands. And as soon as they throw him in, the storm stops. So now they fear God. And then God appoints a fish to come swallow up Jonah that brings him back to dry land after 3 days. And in the belly of the fish, after 3 days, Jonah gives a half-hearted prayer. And so fish gets him back up to dry land, and he goes to Nineveh trying to preach an 8-word sermon at Nineveh, probably hoping that the Ninevites wouldn't care and that they would just leave alone so that they didn't repent and God would just destroy them anyway. But unfortunately for Jonah, they did repent very quickly. And where was I? Oh yeah. So Jonah was angry that they repented, because he wanted them to be destroyed, because Nineveh was a merciless city with many bad flaws. And he went and made a booth out east of the city to wait and see the results. Came back, he didn't go back. God then appointed a plant to come up over Jonah and give him shade, but the next morning God had a worm come and eat the plant, which Jonah did not like. And God asked him why he was so angry with the plant dying, when Jonah wanted to destroy a whole city filled with over 120,000 people and other animals. There's also another story in the Bible that's similar to Jonah that might help you understand the rules. So if we go to Luke 15, verse 11, it says, "And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of the property that is coming to me.' And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I have perished here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field as he came and drew near to the house. He heard music and dancing, and he called one of the servants and asked what these meant. And he said to them, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, Look, these many years I have served you. I have never disobeyed your command, yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who had devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad for your brother. For your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. So, the older brother has a similar attitude to Jonah, in the way that he's jealous that someone got saved. So, and the little brother represents Nineveh, I guess, and the father would represent God. So Jonah was angry that God gave attention to the younger brother, or Nineveh, because he did all the hard work. He praised God for his entire life, while Nineveh sat there and did horrible things. But God is giving them grace instead of him. See why Jonah is a little confused, and why he wants all of God's grace for himself. Jonah fails to realize that God is happy for Nineveh because it has been overturned. I feel that we sometimes fail to realize the accomplishments of others because we are too caught up in ourselves and our accomplishments. So as you leave here today, try to be happy for others and try and realize their accomplishments with the Lord and not just yours.
Good job.